Greetings! Today I'm down on Indian River outside of Sitka, Alaska, and I'm in what we call the gorge. And I'm checking out a very deep pool here, and what I'm using is my underwater camera on the end of a extending painting pole. And here I am on the right. And this is about midsection in the gorge, and we're going to look for some fish. Now, a very early run of pink salmon come up this river right around the 4th of July. It's about 400 or 500 fish. But most people are unaware that they're here. Because if you walk along the river, you don't see any fish. They're just in particular places. And these fish head up the river a long ways. They come early and they travel far. Well, here we are. Got the camera on. And pink salmon. Oh, look at the size of some of those Dolly Varden Trout. That's pretty amazing. There's some nice big ones in there. Pink salmon, they're about 7 to 8 pounds, 20-25 inches long. We call them pinks, we call them humpies, and after they've been in the river for a while, call them river maggots. They're a 2-year cycle. They only have 1,000, 2,000 eggs, and the fry migrate out in March and April. About 18 months later, they return to spawn. Once they spawn, they die. I'm looking for king salmon. Now, last year we had a record number of king salmon come in the river. Now we counted over 50. So I'm seeing if I could see any coming or not. Of course, the king salmon are much larger. But however, over the years they've gotten smaller for some reason. I think the average weight of a king salmon is down about 10 pounds or more. But we're looking for king salmon, but right now all I see are pink salmon and Dolly Varden. Dolly Varden is a trout or a char. Some call them trout, some call them char. They follow these salmon up the river. They feed on the salmon eggs, and then they travel. The ones that are going to travel upstream and spawn do so if they're mature enough. Others, they just migrate back out immediately. But the ones that spawn go up the river and spawn about November, December, and they return to the ocean. So the spotted ones are the Dolly Varden Trout, like the one there on the right, a couple of them there. And they don't die after spawning. Years ago in Alaska, there used to be a bounty on them. Here I am, moving the stick back and forth. Here I put this big long telescopic stick here and got my camera tied to it. I stick it down the water, see what's going on. It works pretty good. That's a Dolly Varden in the foreground and pink salmon behind him there. There's a big wad of pinks in there. Look at them all. There used to be a bounty on Dolly Varden. Down south they call them bull trout, and up north they call them char, Arctic char. They're running anywhere from 10 to 25 inches. If you haven't seen some of my fishing video, fishing for salmon or Dolly Varden, just check out my YouTube channel. And there's some there, and I'll be adding more later. Like I said, they're gonna follow these salmon up and eat the eggs, and the ones that are gonna spawn are gonna spawn, and then they're all gonna go back to the ocean again. In the springtime, the Dolly Varden come up to the mouths of the creeks, and they feed on the salmon fry as they're leaving. Oh, there's some pretty nice fish in there. Well, here I am pulling out the pole again. That's me right there, and on my right there is an individual who dropped by and wanted to watch and see what I was doing. The river looks pretty good right now, and if you walked up and down it, you probably wouldn't even know there was some salmon around. This small run stays pretty hidden. The main run of pink salmon will show up about August 1st. And then we'll get a real late run in September that'll come up the river. I didn't see any chum. Here I am dropping my camera down, looking down at the river and seeing what's going on. Yeah, around the 1st of August, a little after, this area will just be solid fish. The main run is, I don't know how many fish come up this thing anymore. 10, 20, 30,000 pink salmon? I have no idea, but last year the chum or dog salmon run was pretty small. Wow, look at them all in there. All those Dolly Varden. Yeah, some smaller ones are about 10 inches long. I can say a big Dolly Varden is over 20 inches. You get 24, 25 inches. That's a big trout. Anyway, this chum and the dog salmon runs last year was small, and I have not seen any chum in this group of fish. I haven't seen kings yet either. I'll keep looking. Chum run probably some years a couple hundred, and then later in the year around October we get the silver or coho salmon, and there's 500-600 of those that come in. Some of those Dolly Varden have darker colors. There's some smaller fish running around in there. Those look like salmon fry, either coho or king. I can't tell the difference. Look at the rocks down at the bottom of this big pool. How the water has eroded them in funny shapes and smooth. Okay, look at that fish at the upper right. I'll stop it really quick here. Take a look at that fish with a round head and kind of dark on its nose and its blackish mouth. I think that's a king salmon. Sure looks like it to me. Yeah, I think that's a king salmon there. Dolly Varden look, their little spots, they look pretty in the sunshine here, sunlight. You know, down there in that gravel, if there's any gold in the Indian River, I bet it's down in this deep hole, deep down in the gravel. Great, there's a lot of fish along that ledge. A lot of these early fish will go a long ways up the river. I'm going to pull my camera out right now and have a look around. Drop it down under my feet here. Oh, look at the mass of pink salmon here. Right in the middle is a Dolly Varden starting to turn color. They get to really pretty colors when they spawn in the fall. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video, and it gives you a chance to take a look at the fish here in the river. Like I said, these fish are sitting in this big hole, and most people are walking by the river. They're not seeing any salmon. They have no idea they're here. There's 2 or 3 spots like this where they congregate until we get a little more rain in the river, and then they'll head up really quick. But they're here every year, right after the 4th of July. About 2 weeks ahead of the main run. Ever since I came to town, they've been coming here, that and the Dolly Varden, following them. The dollies eventually spread out and go after the eggs of the spawning fish. So I hope you enjoyed that little video, and well, be sure to check out my others. Until then, well, by golly, I'll see you later.